So in this video, I'm going to be creating our very first character in Blender. The beginning of this video is going to be an introduction to Blender itself, just a basic 2-minute overview of what we're doing. So if you're already past that, just skip it. Then we'll get into the character creation. But for now, I'm going to show you right from the beginning how to make a character in Blender. So when you open it up, this is Blender 2.8 by the way. When you open it up, you're going to see a bunch of options. For this particular project, we're going to be using a general file. Now we start off with our happy little cube here. Now our happy little cube is doing pretty good. He's fine. So we're going to start creating our humanoid. So to do that, first thing I need to do, because I am manipulating this object, I need to switch to modeling. Now the difference between layout and modeling is layout is when you're moving or changing a whole object. But if I want to make changes to that individual object, I want to change it, I need to go to modeling. So I'm going to go to modeling in this case. Now the important thing to know about when you're in edit mode or modeling is you really need to know these three keys here: the vertex, the edge select, and the face select. So the vertex select is where we can manipulate the corners. So in this case, I can move these individual corners using the different tools. So example, for the move tool, the rotate tool, the scale tool, and transform. So these are primarily what we're going to be using today. We're not going to be using these down here, except for extrude, but we'll get into that later. So first thing we're going to do is see the vertex. You can manipulate and change all of the corners. Or if I press G, I can just grab it and move it around. Okay, so this is using the move tool on vertex select. Now if I go to face or edge select, I can change the edge. So I can select the edge, and now I'm changing the entire edge. I'm moving up and down and left and right. Okay. And then I can use face select. So I click on the face. So this is all left click, by the way. If you want to know what I'm doing, left click is going to be orange, right click is going to be blue. Okay. So now I can grab a face and move up and down and left and right. So I'm going to undo all those changes I made, and I want to get back to the happy little cube. So here's our happy little cube. For this project, we're going to be working on face select. We're going to be using face select primarily. So I use face select, and I'm going to press the top of the cube. Now I'm going to extrude. Now we're going to be extruding a lot in this project. So the shortcut to extrude is E. It's pretty easy to remember. So first thing I do is I press E. Now I don't click and hold any mouse buttons. I don't use any mouse buttons at all. I just slide the mouse up. Then I left click to lock it in. And then I press E again, slide the mouse up, left click to lock it in. What I'm going for is I'm going to make 5 roughly the same size boxes. Okay. Now I'm going to start making some arms. So I'm going to go to the third box, the middle box, click on it, press E, slide it out. And again, press E, don't hold any mouse buttons, don't touch any mouse buttons, and I just slide my mouse over and it pops out. And then I'll do the same thing to the other side. Press E, move the mouse out, press E, move the mouse out. And there we go, I've got some arms. Now legs are going to be a little bit more tricky. Because I'm going to extrude out 2 legs, I need to make hips first. So I'm going to go down here, press E, I'm going to pull out one hip on one side, go to the other side, press E, and pull out the other hip. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look underneath, and I'm going to see that there's 2 spots here for my legs. So I click on one side, and if you hold shift and click the other side, you can select both at once. Then I press E, slide out the first section of leg, press E, slide out the second section of leg, and here we go. I'm also going to do the feet here. So how I'm going to do the feet is I'm going to pull out a third little tiny section of leg right there, and then I'm going to go to the front of the feet, hold shift, click on the other side, press E, and I'm just going to pull out some feet. Okay, so this is the initial part of our character. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you how to quickly tweak it to make it a little bit better. So I'm going to go to the edge select. I'm just going to pull the hips in because hips shouldn't look like that. So what I do is I go use edge select, select on the hip edge right here, see the white line right there, and then I'm going to use this red one to pull it in. Okay, same thing over here, click on the edge there, pull it in. Now, no one has the thigh gap like that, so I'm going to do the same thing here. Go on the edge, pull it in. On the edge, pull it in. The reason why we extrude and not just place blocks on top of each other is for the next step when we go to subdivide, we want all this to be one solid object. We don't want it to be a bunch of individual pieces stacked on top of each other. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab the neck. I'm just going to pull it in a little bit. Pull it in a little bit. Okay, and you can do whatever you want at this point. My arms are really thick, but it doesn't really matter at this point. Okay, so now I've got kind of a character going on here. And that's all we need is kind of a character. I mean, if we wanted to be really particular, we could change the arms, make them skinnier, but it doesn't matter. And I'll show you why in the next step. So we've made our character. He's looking pretty good, but it's not great. So here's how we kind of shortcut to making a great character. We go to layout, back to layout, and we're going to go to this wrench thing over here. This is where your modifiers are, and this is where you can modify your character. And we're going to use the subdivision surface modifier. So I'm going to go up to modifier, click on subdivision surface, and you're going to see my character rounds out a little bit. Well, on my machine, I can go up to 4 and 4, but it all depends on what your machine can do. So you can go as high as, if you have a super powerful machine, you can probably go to 8. I like to go about 4 and 4. Okay, and then I click apply, and there we go. Now I've got my first character, and he's not that bad. He's pretty good. Now I can go into sculpting mode. So over here we've got layout, modeling, and then sculpting. So I go into sculpting mode, and I can actually use the sculpting tools here to start drawing in things. So for example, I've got draw. So now I want to make big bug eyes, and maybe I want to make a weird mouth. The more subdivisions you do, the better quality your sculpting is going to be. So if you want to really start making fine details, then you have to do a really high level of subdividing, which would give you more surfaces to bend and flex, which makes your modeling much better. Okay, so that's enough to get you started. And next time I'll show you how to paint using Vertex paint and all sorts of things. But for right now, give it a shot. See what you can do. Okay, thanks for watching.